Starting off, to get a full view of your journey, could you walk me through a quick timeline, just in your own words? What were your interests and passions in high school? What did you study and why? What was your first ever job, even if it wasn't a serious job? How did your career path unfold from there to where you are today? And finally, what are you doing now?
What was my interests and passions in high school? Wow, that's a tough question. The reality is that I didn't really have much interests and passions in high school. In primary school, I was really good at math. Early high school was when computers came out and I got myself a Commodore 64 and I loved sitting there and programming and writing programs in BASIC and, figuring things out on the Commodore 64. That was awesome. Then I got into, social. So I guess it was around standard 8. I started going out with mates a lot and we started drinking beer and stuff like that and having all these parties, and then kind of social life took over and studies started taking a back burner, and also computer studies. So yeah, that was actually a sad part of high school, but that is what it is. That also actually culminated in the study thing, because the plan was always that I was going to go and study electronic engineering, and then after high school not getting the most stellar matric results, I ended up at varsity. I could still study electronic engineering, but the queue was very long and I decided to rather study law at the time. Which probably wasn't a great idea because I could never pass Latin. So after 2 years of law studies, I basically quit, gave up, didn't pass Latin at all, and I went to the army. Now the interesting thing is, what's your interests and stuff. I did one of those tests, aptitude tests, and the results came back and they said to me, look, you should be able to do anything you want. We just can't give you any idea of what you're interested in because your interests are all over the place. So that was a little fun fact. Anyway, so yeah, went to the army. Those years we still had to do national service, so I applied into the army for national service, and that at least taught me a little bit of self-discipline, or a little bit of discipline. I wouldn't say self-discipline. And things were going okay, and we were some of the lucky ones that only had to do a year, because we clawed in for 2 years and ended up coming out after a year, got released from national service. And I think national service was definitely one of the things that did me a great service, honestly. What was my first ever job? Well, my first ever job was as a bagpacker at the OK, but that was when I was still in school. That only lasted for 3 days. I realized that was no fun at all. So I got myself a job at a video shop in Potchefstroom, and I rented out videos. That was great because they had a games arcade, so we could play games while we were working if it's not busy. So that was great, and we ended up watching a lot of videos. So that was a cool job. After army, my first job was actually I worked for an uncle of mine that had an engineering firm, and we kind of built interesting stuff out of rubber. So that was cool. At the same time, I started kind of a soap factory with another uncle of mine where we made little soap statues and stuff like that. And then I quit it all and I went and worked as a waiter at Mike's Kitchen in Mayville Mall in Pretoria. So I became a waiter at Mike's Kitchen, and that was fun. It was actually one of the smartest moves I ever made, becoming a waiter, I think. That's where you learn so much things. Anyway, and how did my career path unfold from there to where I am today? Very jaggedy, to be honest. I was a waiter at Mike's Kitchen. Then we moved in Mayville Mall, moved to Cape Town, where I became a waiter at Mike's Kitchen in Tiger Valley. After a couple of months as a waiter, I got offered the position as manager of the restaurant. So I managed the restaurant for about a year or two. Then it drove me nuts. It got a little bit too much, the pressure and the stress and everything. I loved waitering and I loved working there, but it was crazy. But anyway, and the hours, and that together with all the still continuous partying was obviously a bit harsh. So I then moved to Kennard in the Northern Cape, where my parents bought a service station. So I went there to go and run the total service station there. I opened a cafe there, a shop, and I opened a scrap metal business. I had a games arcade. I did a bunch of things there. Was there for about 4 or 5 years, and then moved to Joburg, where I started working at an affordable housing company as a project manager with a friend of mine. Did that for a couple of years, then became a partner in an affordable housing company. We set up our own one and we started running that. Did that for a couple of years. From there, kind of got tired of that, so quit all of that. Went into publishing with friends of mine, publishing books. Then started a signage and branding company, and that's the one that I kind of lasted the longest in. I did. We did signage and branding from 2001 to about 2015. We sold the business. And that was fun because it was all different things. But I mean, I kind of early on in my career, I realized that I can't work for anybody. I need to be doing my own thing. And sometimes you fail, and sometimes it's interesting, and sometimes it's not. So I've always been the person that kind of, if I don't enjoy it, I move on. It's not the ideal entrepreneur as they explain it to you in all the books, but hey, that was my journey, right? And where am I today? Well, today I live in Vancouver in Canada. We publish coffee table books globally. We've got these big, beautiful business coffee table books that we publish. I run an organization called the South African Institute of Canada that's helps South Africans settle in Canada. And then we also are working on a couple of other things, investment business, tire business. I have to say, I think these days everybody gets diagnosed with ADD. Our days, people didn't get diagnosed with ADD. I guess if it was more known then, that's probably where what I have. But anyway, so this is it. Live in Vancouver, Canada. Within a couple of weeks, we would be citizens, or a couple of months, we should be citizens of Canada. So looking really much forward to that. And then starting the next portion of our journey.
Then versus now. Self-reflection. If you think back to your early 20s, how did you feel about the future back then? Were you confident, clueless, scared, or even excited?
In all honesty, in my early 20s, I was just partying. And I think it had a lot to do with being, I don't know, it's weird. Was I scared or was I just super confident? You know, I used to have right through my 20s, I used to have the saying that this world is my world, and in my world stuff happens the way I want it to. So I always believed I was very lucky and stuff will always just work out. And I was just not scared of anything, yet maybe it was because I was scared that I was acting not scared of anything. I don't know. The only thing I can say is during my 20s, there was a lot of partying and a lot of all kinds of things going on. We were just all over the place.
And now, looking back, what mindset or belief helped you grow from that version of you into the person you are today?
Well, I think one of the things that I kind of kept from my early 20s, from that wild, wild time, is the belief that I can do anything. It's the belief that no matter what, I will figure it out and I will get it done. And, that it'll work out. I guess that's the strong one. It's just don't be scared. I'm not scared to make decisions. I'm not scared to make moves. I'm not scared to do what I think should be done. And I think that's oftentimes a problem that prevents people from being entrepreneurs, is that they struggle to make the decisions. You know, my view is I make the decision and, sometimes it's going to be wrong, sometimes it's going to be right. Hopefully it'll be right more than it's wrong, but there's no point in sitting around and worrying about the decision. You're going to make a decision and then go and deal with the consequences, I guess.
Mentorship time. Do-overs and real advice. What's something you wish you emotionally or mentally knew in your early 20s? Like a mindset reminder you'd give your younger self.
That's a tough question, actually, because you know what? My younger self was the most confident and cocky person in the world. Um, I would almost want to say I wish my younger self would want to come and give me some more mindset tips again. But anyway, let's not go there. I think the only thing that I would go back and tell my younger self is look wider. You know, I had a very closed mindset. I was very cocky. I was very confident. I was good at almost everything. We partied way too much. And what I would go back and tell my younger self is look beyond the borders of South Africa. Don't just focus on here. Start traveling internationally. Start going and experiencing the world. It took me very long before I got out of South Africa the first time, and it really opened my eyes to see other countries in the world. I honestly believe that that's something I should have done much earlier. I should have done directly after school maybe, or even directly after the army. I should have gone traveling to see the world. I think that would have made a big, big difference.
If you could go back and do one thing differently in your career or business journey, what would it be?
Ha, that's an interesting question. If you asked about my study journey or my schooling journey, the one thing that I would tell you is that when I was in Standard 6 in South Africa, I went to high school Ferdinand Posma, which was a school in Potchefstroom, boarding school for gifted kids. And I went there, and one of the things that happened was when I got there, they offered me the opportunity to study computers at the University of Potchefstroom. So I arrived there and I had this opportunity, and I went a couple of classes to go study computers. I mean, the computers literally just came out. This was like 1989, right? And there was this little zinc building on the varsity campus where they had a few computers, and you learned how to really code in BASIC and still some of the core languages. And I went there a couple of times, and I decided that it's boring. I'm not going to do this. If there was one thing that I could go back to, I would actually go and do that. Who would have known that computers would grow this much? Anyway, so that's there. As far as career goes, I don't know. I make my decisions based on what makes me happy, and oftentimes throughout my career I made big changes in my career. I would just get sick and tired of something, and some people call it quitting. I call it if I don't enjoy it anymore, then I'm out and I shut down and I move on to something completely different, so I've done various very different things in my life.
And what's something you'd 100% do the same way again?
Suppose that's also an interesting question. What's something that I would do 100% the same way again? I don't know. You see, this thing is, I honestly, I don't really dwell too much on what could have been or what should have been, or on bad decisions or on good decisions. Life is about what's going on now, and we're moving forward. So I would probably have done almost everything the same again. Most of it led to where I am right now, and it's a good idea. That's it. Yeah, really.
Let's say someone just graduated and they are sitting on their bed, totally stuck and unsure where to start. List 3 things you would tell them to do this week to get moving, even just a little bit.
Well, the most important one is get up off your bed and just get out there. That's something that we've all struggled with through our lives. Those days when you get despondent and you're like, oh shit, what's going on? And the worst thing you can do is to sit around and go, oh shit, what do I do next? You just got to get out there and do something, move forward, trust that in yourself, trust that you can do what needs to be done. That is the important bit. So 3 things. Number 1, get up off your bed, go out there and go and find something to do. Step number 2, believe in yourself. And step number 3, Go and talk to people. That's the most important thing. Network, get out there, put yourself out there and ask for what you want.
Tools, resources, and real talk. I'm building a resource library for the viewers to use. Can you name 2 or 3 specific tools, books, websites, or free resources that really helped you or would have helped when you were just starting out?
Obviously AI, although those weren't there those days, but these days, I mean, you gotta just use ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you've got access to. It is just makes your life so much easier. You gotta get used to it. You gotta understand it, and you gotta start leveraging it to get your work done quicker and to get more efficient, I guess. As far as books go, there's a couple of books: How to Influence, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Like Switch. There's a bunch of books that's got everything to do with how the brain works. It's something I love and something I really enjoy reading about. And it's all about how to subtly get people to like you and to connect with them. And I guess from all things, every single skill out there, the most important one is to be able to connect to people. The most important skill is to be able to walk into any room and speak to anybody and make them like you. And there are actually ways to do that, and that is where those books come in. Go check it out. The Like Switch, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Simple little things that you can do to make yourself more acceptable to other people, and that's super important.
Let's say I took away your whole network and your bank account. You're starting from scratch today. What would be your first 3 moves this month to rebuild your life, career, or business? Think practical. Things you'd Google, website you'd visit, free things you'd sign up for.
Okay, so 3 things I would do straight away. Well, the first one is that if it's going to be a clean slate, I might as well start off with something I enjoy. So the first thing I would do is I would sit back and think, what is it that I really enjoy and where is it that I want to do that? So, I live in Canada now. I live in Vancouver. It's great here, and I've got a career path, and I'm working on a bunch of things. But having said that, I've been thinking about a charter business in Mexico lately, so I've been wondering how it would be to just take people out on a boat in a Mexican holiday city, every day in the sun and beautiful weather and beautiful beaches. And I'm like, that would have been nice, but now I'm tied to Canada. So if I have to start over, I would probably think on where I would want to be. The question that you've got to ask yourself is, if you're going to be doing something, we always used to say many years ago, if you're going to be playing rugby, you'd rather play on the A field than on the C field. I mean, if you're going to be doing something, rather do it properly. If you're going to be selling cars, I would rather sell Lamborghinis than, Ford Escorts. So if I have to start over, I'm going to pick something that I want to do. And then, secondly, if I decided on what that is, I will go and do research. I will use my AI friends to just get into it and do a shitload of research and figure out what it is and what it takes to get in there. And then I would start contacting people in that industry and offer to come and help them and work for them, even if it's free. Offer to be a apprentice. Offer to just come and learn. And to get in there, I will use my social skills that hopefully I've earned. I've learned through my life, is just to get in there and speak to people. I think that's the most important thing, is to not be scared, right? It's just to go out there and not be scared. People can say no, they can say a lot of things, but they can't hurt you for asking. So just got to get out there and ask and keep on doing it until you get the yes and you get the answer. So I guess that would be the 3 things I would do straight away. Decide where I want to be first, then research how to get there, and then start talking to people and working my way into it.
Rapid fire questions. What's a failure that made you laugh later in life?
When I got involved in NFTs, I guess. Well, yeah, it is what it is.
Coffee or tea when planning your empire?
Coffee or tea? Coffee. I drink coffee.
What's your hustle anthem, the song that gets you into gear?
Thunderstruck by AC/DC. That's a nice one.
Real world readiness and lessons. We all have this idea of what work or entrepreneurship will be like. What was your expectation and how different was reality once you were in it?
To be honest, really didn't have lots of expectations. I was just like always a go with the flow kind of guy, you know. I was just the kind of go with the flow guy. I just dealt with things the way that I dealt. I was never really good at planning, and I kind of probably still aren't really good at planning. I'm extremely good at dealing with crises and just sorting stuff out in the moment, but when it comes to planning or expectations, you know, tomorrow is tomorrow's problem. I deal with what's going on today. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of expectations. One thing that I do know is that I can say is that reality is different in the sense that you can have the best plans and the best ideas of what you want to do, and it's probably guaranteed that it's not going to work out like that, because reality has a way of throwing curveballs at you.
Was there ever a moment you felt totally unprepared? Like presenting yourself, public speaking, writing a CV, even using English professionally. How did you handle that?
Oh man, there was plenty of moments, and I still, till today, I make videos, I speak to people wherever, but when I get on a stage, I suddenly get like flustered, and I can't remember what I'm supposed to say and what I'm supposed to talk about, and it's just this like poof thing goes through. And how do I handle it? Well, you just do what you need to do, right? You get up there and go and do it. It's the only answer I have there. There's no secret source for me on that one. I know people have got little tricks, picture people naked, do things like that. For me, I don't know. I just go and do it. But yeah, there are many times when I feel totally unprepared, and then just deal with it the best I can.
What's one underrated skill you wish you started working on earlier?
People skills. Once again, like I said, the like switch, the how to influence people. The crazy thing is that we humans are all very, very predictable and very, very programmable. It is just the way we are. It's our physiology. It's how our brains work. There are certain things that's really easy. And most of us on this planet don't know it. The people that make the big money and make the big advertising decisions, and those guys, they know it and they use it on us daily. Everything you see on TV, everything you see on social media could actually be described as a psychological operation, because it's designed to make us feel a certain way, and it's designed to make us do certain things. And all of those are already well documented, and I wish I started learning about that earlier. I got my start with it in the restaurant, working as a waiter and as a manager, but I didn't necessarily recognize what it was. I picked up the skills to get people to like me, and I picked up the skills to be able to communicate with everybody, but I really didn't understand the underlying science. So I really wish I started focusing and understanding that underlying science and that underlying skill set much earlier, so that I could map it out, and through my life it would have been a huge thing. That is one of the most important things for anybody. You gotta learn the people skills, and it's a science. It's not, some people go out there and say, oh, I'm just not a people's person. No, you are. You just need to go and read the books and understand the science, and then do the work.
CVs, networking, and building value. A lot of people feel awkward about networking. So can you give a real example of how you started? Like a place you went, someone you messaged, or a platform you used?
Well, networking is hard. I mean, I can go out there and talk to people at any event, but I have to force myself to do it. It's just not. I create this alternate persona for me because, contrary to what you may think or what people may think if they see me publicly and all around, I'm actually not a very. I'm actually a bit of an introvert, but I create this kind of public persona. So I switch into this persona that can talk to anybody and that can just do anything they want. And networking is one of those things. You just need to go out there and go and do it. I mean, I can't remember my first networking skills. I can't remember how it all started. It was just through time, I guess. Really, most networking I did was here in Vancouver when we did the NFT book, and it was just going out to events, and it's really awkward to walk around and connect with people, but hey, you just got to do it, right?
What's one thing that actually makes a CV stand out in your field? And what do most people forget to add that matters?
I guess that's a very interesting question, really, because on the one hand, you know, CVs are different in every part of the world. Like if you use your South African style CV in Canada, you're not going to get anywhere because they just have a much different way of doing it. And it's a bit of a catch-22 because in Canada specifically, you need to style your CV so that the automated systems can read the CV and understand it. And most CVs do not get viewed by human eyes. It's only once it gets through the automated system that it gets viewed by human eyes. So that means everybody's CV is very, very standard. But that's a bit of a catch-22 because what really stands out is a CV that's different. So what people do here is they use their cover letter to try and make their case, to make them stand out. And what is it that will make a CV stand out, not necessarily just in my field, but in any field, is personal attention, especially nowadays with all of the AI. I mean, AI can write a beautiful little thing and stick it in the CV, but it's all just normal regurgitated stuff. What I would like to see is that you actually did the work, that you actually went and researched my company, and even better, if you come up and you're like, hey, I would love to come and work for you. I've been researching your company. I like what you've done here. I like what you've done there. And I think I can do this to add to your company. And that's what I can bring to the party. And that's what's going to stand out. It's not even necessarily what you bring. I mean, if you come up with great ideas, it will be amazing. But it's also about just the fact to show that you've put work into it. Because unfortunately, I think these days that's the thing. You know, what's it in Bitcoin and crypto? They talk about proof of work. If there's no proof of work, if you just bulk send out mails, then it means you're not taking it serious. I personally feel that for you, if you did the effort and you did some research and you prove to me that you've done the effort, I can rely on you a little bit better. So to me, that's what would stand out in a CV.
What advice do you have for someone who wants to build a career or brand but has no experience yet?
Well, just go out there and get experience. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people are afraid of starting and doing stuff because, and I get it because I've been there myself. I'm there now, to be quite honest. You're afraid of failure, but the reality is, being afraid of failure is failure. So you might as well just go out there and go and get it done. And if you fail, you fail, and if you don't, you carry on. That's it. You learn. It's like what's the saying? It doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. So if you go out there and you fail, take away the lessons from it. So yeah, I think if you don't have any experience, there's only one way to get experience, and that's to go out there and to go and get it.
We always hear about soft skills and personal branding, but what did that actually look like for you in real life? For example, did you practice how to speak clearly in your interviews, dress a certain way for your first impression, or follow up with people on LinkedIn? What were the small actions you took that helped you build credibility, stand out, or just show people that you're someone worth noticing?
No. I've never been that guy. I never practice anything. I wing everything. That's just the way it goes. And sometimes, soft skills, dress a certain way, all of those things are, people say that it's important, but once you start studying human nature and how the brain works, you realize that it is important in certain ways, but it's also maybe not important in other ways. I'll tell you a short story. In 2001, I used to do branding and signage. I started this little branding and signage company, and I did work for South African Airways. And I was at a big jazz festival. We had to hang banners from the roof of a wall and put up banners for South African Airways. And at the time, the co-sponsor was Standard Bank. So I'm there on my little ladders and high up trolley and stuff to hang the banners from the roof. And the lady from Standard Bank is standing there all stressed out. She's got all her banners on a pile on the floor, and she's like, her team that was supposed to come and put it up, her volunteers from work, they haven't arrived, and now her banners are there, and she doesn't have anybody to put it up, and she's stressing out. And I saw this, and I said to her, hey, give me your banners, I'll hang it. And she's like, how much is it going to cost? And I'm like, I'm climbing up there anyway to hang the SAA one, so I might as well put yours up. It's not going to cost you anything. I just don't like to see somebody stressing. So I took her banners and I climbed up. I didn't even give her my business card. I just went up and I did the job, and I put her banners up, and it was all great. And went back, took down the banners, South African Airways once, and never thought more of it. A couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from another lady at Standard Bank, and she says, hey, we are looking at a supplier to handle all our branding for Standard Bank. And, we are interviewing a bunch of people, and we would like to see you as well because we got your name. We phoned the lady from SAA, and she gave us your details. So I was like, okay, sweet, I'll do that. And they scheduled to interview for 8 o'clock in the morning at Standard Bank in Joburg, head office, this beautiful place. But anyway, so that was on a Monday morning. On the Saturday, I had an event out in Pretoria, did the event, came back from there tired, dirty, and I went straight to my then brand new girlfriend, now my wife Belinda, 20 odd years later. Went to Belinda's house to go and visit her. So I stayed over at Belinda's house Sunday, slept over there, overslept on Monday because I was supposed to go back to my house to go and put on my nice outfit and everything to go and see these people at Standard Bank. And I overslept, so I end up having to rush straight to Standard Bank with my cargo shorts, my dirty, wrinkled T-shirt. Haven't showered yet because it was too late, so I look like crap, right? My Crocs. And I walk into this beautiful offices, huge, it's like marble and glass and fancy desks and blah, 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 and all of that. And I sit down there, and they call me into the room, and there's these two ladies sitting there dressed to the T, beautiful little business suits and everything. And I look like, I just came from a job site. So I just rolled with it. I walked in and I said, good morning, ladies. You must excuse what I look like, but I'm not an office kind of guy. I'm a guy that's out there putting up banners and doing stuff, getting the job done. So I kind of rolled in with that one, and they just loved it. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is we ended up getting the Standard Bank contract, and we did their work for 15 years after that. I know a couple of other people in the industry, and there were some other contractors that were scheduled for interviews after me, and quite a few of them got called back and told that their interviews were cancelled because, I won the prize right there in the beginning. Until today, I still blame, I suppose the fact that I helped the other lady out at Standard Bank at no fee and not with asking anything, but also because I just kind of, it worked. It worked being dressed in cargo shorts and a scrumpled, dirty T-shirt with fluffy hair and then saying, hey, I'm out on site working. I'm not going to dress up fancy because I'm here. I've got work to do type of thing. So, yeah, it's like you need to look at the situation. One of the important things you got to remember is that you always need to try and stand out. And stand out in a good way, in a good, sensible way. Because otherwise, if you're just one of the crowd, you're just one of the crowd. What were small actions you took that helped you build credibility, stand out, to just show people that you're someone worth noticing? Well, I guess that story right now almost tells it, because from there on, that was my thing. I never wore a suit or fancy clothes or fancy shoes or anything to go to meetings. I was always in my Crocs, my cargo shorts and my T-shirt. I did start wearing branded T-shirts. So, when any company I work with, I wear branded T-shirts. Right now, I've got my Biltong Addict T-shirt, which is part of the South African Institute range. So, that was it. I was me. I tried to be authentic.
The legacy question. If someone only remembers one thing you said today, what do you hope it is?
Study how people's minds work. Learn social skills. It is really not that hard. There's a blueprint. All you need to do is learn how to follow it, and you will become a social animal that everybody's going to love. Just learn how to do it.
What does success mean to you now versus when you started?
Oh, well, I suppose success to me right now means being able to afford a decent home, settle down, just live life calm and relaxed. When I started, it was all about driving Ferraris and things like that. I guess I'm way past that right now. I'm not going to be driving a Ferrari. I don't want a Ferrari. I do enjoy my Ford Explorer. It's comfortable, it's big, it's got everything I need. So yeah, it's much toned down, I guess. All right, hope that helps.